Wow. Well, look who it is, huh? If it isn't the fella that got the AFCON final wrong, huh?
And the one that got it right.
And the one that got it right, fucking bastard. We've got a lot to cover here today. AFCON, all done and dusted, wrapped up. We've got the EPL back. We've got some United turmoil to go through. Got to get the Ronaldo watch in there. And, of
Mhm.
course, the best league in the world, the A-League. Play that music, son. Wow, wow, wow. Hey, did you expect this sort of performance from uh, Senegal in the final against
No,
Egypt?
not at all.
Wow, it
Not
was very arduous.
they definitely dug in deep for that one.
Yeah,
Something we haven't seen in all tournament. Uh,
yeah.
it
Definitely
was
expected it from Egypt's side of things.
oh
That was
yeah.
exactly the sort of performance I thought they were going to put on, to be honest.
To
But
be fair,
did not expect it to be met by Senegal.
yeah, exactly. They've been slogging throughout the whole tournament. Egypt, they're
Hmm.
getting through pens and extra time. A lot of the
Hmm.
second half of the tournament.
Yeah,
To be
yeah.
honest,
3 games went to pens for them.
yeah. So, but yeah, as you put in the notes, they buckled when it mattered most. When it
Yep.
was the final. Shame for the keeper, not to get in a save at least. Considering he's been performing heroics, and kept who did they
Mane.
verse? Yeah,
Oh, I
kept
thought you were going to
Mane
talk
on.
about Mane's miss.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Mane is, but also in the prior, I think it was against Burkina Faso. Did he say, or was it Burkina Faso
No,
or
it
prior Cameroon?
was Cameroon.
Yeah, they kept three pens out against Cameroon and watched a
Yep.
couple sail by him. But yeah, shame they couldn't get it done all the way. But I mean, look, I really didn't think they would get this far.
Egypt. Nah,
Yeah,
fair enough. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it
I
wasn't
really think so.
wasn't your pick.
For them, it was a
Um,
it was a great tournament all around.
well, I don't think if you ask them that, they'd feel the same way
Oh
anymore
no!
after getting
Hey,
to the
look,
final and losing on pens.
devastating,
But
devastating.
look, tremendous performance from the keeper. He really sort of pulled them all the way to the to extra time and to pens. He even made a save on Mane's pen in
Mm.
the. I feel like it was in the first half,
Yeah, it was in the
super
first. I
early
think
on.
it was like 28 or 38 minutes in. I think it was about that.
Yeah, and he touched on it before as well. Egypt perfect from the penalty spot all the way until the final.
When it can.
8 from 8 going into the final. So you kind of, once it went to pens, I'll be honest, that's kind of where I thought, okay,
Yeah.
Egypt's done practically nothing this whole game, really. They've held on, and look, maybe the gamble will pay off. They've taken the game to where I guess they believed where they probably thought the only place they had the advantage was in pens, right?
Deep waters.
And yeah, didn't work out at all for them, to be honest. They missed 2
Mm.
pens. Salah didn't even get to take his. Didn't even get around
Strange
to it.
move. Strange move. You'd want your best penalty takers on there. He was part of all the
He,
other ones.
yeah, because he went first. I'm pretty sure he definitely went first in the last one. I don't know
Mm.
if he went first in the one previous to that, but a bit strange to make him go fifth. We've seen this happen before, where they'll
Mm.
put a key player on as fifth. I guess in the chance that it might be the deciding pen. Maybe you want someone that's going to be cool under the pressure, but I think as much as that that sounds good. I think what's worse than that is having relatively your best penalty taker not even take one at all.
Mm. Mm. By that same logic, they should put the best goal kick, the best penalty kick taker in the goalkeeper's position right at the end. If it does get to 11 pens each, like, why don't
Yeah,
we just
who's
go to that?
coolest in that situation?
Yeah, who's the coolest when it's 11 all? Like,
Yeah,
your best pen taker, your star player should always take the first three within the first three pens. I reckon
yeah,
top
yeah. Get
three
him
out of
early as
five.
possible.
Yeah, get him in there early, seal it in, and then the rest, because the rest you can kind of gamble on, because then after five or even four, really, they're not your best pen
Mm,
takers. They're not your first option. So,
mm.
really at that point, it's up to the keeper or the chutzpah of the pen taker.
Um, just on the two talismans, Mane and Salah, pretty much anonymous this game, right? Like just
Not much. Yeah.
inexistent,
Mr.
super
Pen as
super.
well for money.
Yeah, like just not good performances from them. Salah, had the same sort of game he had every other game in the tournament, relatively. The positions that they put him in aren't really the Salah type positions.
Mm.
It's sort of just like, hey, here's the ball. You're a good player. Good luck.
Magic.
Yeah, exactly. And that's worked out a couple times here and there, but it didn't work out at all in this game. But
Mm.
on the other side of things, Mane had actually some pretty lightning performances throughout where he was, showing flashes of what he can do at Liverpool.
Mm.
So in that sort of respect, he was having a better tournament going in, which is why he won Best Player. I mean, he probably wouldn't have won it if they'd lost, but he
Mm.
won Best Player for a reason. He'd be playing well the whole way through. Whereas Salah had about the same sort of performance he had every other game. But I
Mm.
was surprised to see both of them sort of fade away in this game
Mm.
because like the build up amongst themselves was they were clearly up for it. The teams were very much up for it. You had Egypt coming in with Salah being on for most people the best player in the world at the moment. With Senegal, you had a more structured team, more balanced squad. You had the best goalkeeper in the world. Yada yada yada. It didn't really play up to that. I felt at all.
Mm. No,
Especially when you look at how exciting some of the other games were. Like this
yeah,
was a bit of
it
a
was a pretty dull and drab final. Really, it was a bit of a. No, I wouldn't say a bit of a not tactical, but it kind of cancelled out each other. Where
yeah,
throughout the tournament,
yeah,
we were talking about Senegal not being as I guess free flowing in their scoring as we'd
uh-huh,
expected with a front line like that. But then
uh-huh,
Egypt, doing what they've been doing all tournament, just sit back deep and make it really difficult for them
uh-huh.
to really get in behind that also, and then drag it to deep waters out in extra time. But a really drab affair. But look, not all finals. Usually finals are pretty boring if you ask me, because
More tactical. Yeah,
more tactical.
yeah,
They have a week pretty much, or not a week, but a few days worth of analysis, and you can kind of get analysis paralysis via analysis. So it tends to happen. But yeah, pretty. The AFCON tournament itself has been great. Lots of great moments on and off.
yeah, yeah.
But for it to kind of go out to like this as well,
Yeah, it was a bit. It
you
was
felt like, hey, you
yeah.
can't win them
Look,
all.
it went to pens, so at least it was dramatic.
Mm.
We had like a really cool moment between the goalkeepers where you had Mendy talking about the Egyptian goalkeeper being the actual best goalkeeper of the tournament, and showing his
Mm.
respect to that, which was cool. And then on the
Mm.
flip side, they found the water bottle
Oh,
of
yeah.
Egypt's goalkeeper, and it had like all the little graphics that they used to sort of show like, okay, this is how many pens he hit here and here and here and here. So it's
Tendencies.
all the analysis that they do. I thought it was cool because we
Mm.
rarely get. We normally get like those photos from the stands where people catch the goalkeeper
Yep.
looking at the notes. Rarely
Mm.
do we actually find the bottle and get really close to it. And it's a lot more
Mm.
detailed than I thought. It's like literally
Yeah.
like a graphic of a goal, and then there's like a green dot and with the number of how many times they've hit it in that area.
Yeah, that
So
was
it really
pretty.
gives you a good idea. That's pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
I think, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Pickford had the same thing in the Euros, but it was just on a sports bottle, and it was just like a list of names or something like that. I
Yeah,
can't remember properly, but he didn't look as detailed as this. This was just on a regular Mount Franklin looking bottle, and a
yeah,
bunch
it
of
was a
pictures stuck onto it. It looked like an arts and craft project
yeah,
from a
yeah.
year four kid.
I think that's kind of what I was thinking is that Pickford photo where it
Mm,
looks more like a list with some
mm,
information next to it. There's no
mm,
imagery at all. Whereas
mm.
this is like big, nice, clear images of where the penalties have been taken. I thought that's
Mm.
pretty cool.
That was
That
good.
that stuff really happens. And then third place playoff, Cameroon, the host, going home with absolutely nothing to show for it. Very sad for the blokes. After really storming through
Mm.
most of the tournament. It's only when they got to the knockouts that it started to fall off a little bit for them. But they still got all the way to the semis. Um, didn't think that they would lose the third place playoff to Burkina Faso because I thought they'd want to come away with something being the
Yeah,
host.
for sure.
But no, a 3-1 loss is what they get for their trouble.
Wow, they just
Um,
wiped out. But the way they lost the penalty shootout, I think against Egypt
yeah,
as well, was just the last pen, the one that sealed it for him right at the end.
yeah,
One of the worst pens I've seen in a long time. And then the one, I think it might have been the Abubakar scored his, but I can't remember who the
mm,
second and third penalty kick takers were. But they both did that stupid little short run up,
yep,
and every time they do a short run up, unless you're a proficient kicker or something
Yep.
like that. It just, you don't get enough power
Yeah.
behind the
Look,
ball, and it's
if you
not
see
direct.
if you see a defender go up to take a penalty kick and
Mhm.
it's a 1 or 2 step run up, you just chalk it up as a miss. They never land it. That's for like your Pirlos or
Mm,
your Del Piero's, Neymar's, Messi's,
mm.
has people that are
Lewandowski,
very technically proficient. Not not you just run of the
mate,
mill
just
center back, fullback, that can barely stop a ball.
the thing is, just I don't understand where this came from. I get, you want to fake out the keeper and try disguise your shot as much as you can, but what happened to the days of just hoofing it in? Just run up and
Yeah.
bomb it in, mate. Don't
Do you
even
know what
think about
do you
it.
know what
Pick
I
a side
sometimes
and
think it
bang.
is? I think it's
Mm.
nerves. I
Yeah,
think
100%. You
because
overthink it.
like they overthink it, but I think it's also like they want the moment over and done with, so they don't walk away from the
Mm,
ball. Really, they just put it
mm.
down. They shuttle back 2 steps and they just hit it with all anxiety they can. Like it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what
Yeah,
it
yeah.
looks like anyway. It look like guys that just like, look, I shouldn't be here. I'm a deer in the headlights.
Mm,
They can barely shuffle their feet backwards to get enough
mm,
distance in the run up.
mm. I don't want to do
But
this. I
yeah,
don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
sad to see him drop out like that. But nice to see it for Burkina Faso, right?
Shout
Good
out
because
to you.
they had a good run. They probably ended with, if you were to make the AFCON 11, they probably would have got 2 or 3 players in there because there was some standout talent on the team. So very good. Um, just to wrap up, best goalkeeper Mendy. I think that's fair
Yeah, you can
ish.
give it.
You
Ish.
know,
I wouldn't. I'd be more happier with the Egyptian keeper based on his
yeah,
heroics in the penalty shootout and just his overall like tournament. I think was better.
yeah, yeah. I
But
agree.
look, you can't. Mendy's a great keeper in his own right,
Yeah,
and they won the tournament, so you always get a bit of bias on that front.
exactly, exactly. And I think when it was like when you just go to like goals conceded, I don't think him and the Egyptian goalkeeper were very far apart. So I think it's
No.
it's splitting hairs, but yeah, it's just because the Egyptian goalkeeper, he's not a household name in the sense he's not as reclaimed as Mendy is. So I guess it makes his performance a little bit more grandiose. But I feel like roughly comparable tournaments.
Mm.
And then Sadio Mane for best player. I feel like they would have just given it to whoever won. I feel like if
Yeah.
Egypt had won, they
Yeah.
would have given it to Salah.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. 100%.
that's just how it felt. Not that Mane
100%.
wasn't. I'm not arguing against Mane being the best player, but I don't think he had the tournament to be like, yeah, he's the guy. It's him. I think it would have just been given to the best player on the winning team.
I
Nice and
agree.
easy. All
I
right,
agree.
EPL's back, and
Hey,
so is the turmoil for United.
Wreck It
Um,
Ralph.
so before we get into actual EPL, they buckled in the FA Cup, and with a
Mm.
completely full strength side, they got bounced by Middlesbrough, right?
On pen.
Completely full strength. It was. I'm not gonna lie, it was setting up to go this way. When you look at the lineup, and it's a full strength United squad, right out of international break, full strength squad, no rotation, no nothing. You
Mm.
just felt like they were going into it going, this is a can't lose game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like one of those things where it's like you try your best to avoid something, and all you do is inevitably get closer and closer to that one thing you're trying to avoid.
Can't fight
Because
fate.
it just looked, they were overdoing it, it seems like, putting that sort of lineup out. I'm not saying they should go out there and run out the youngsters, but they were clearly making it obvious that they were going to give it their all. And once that 30-40 minute mark set in and Burrow just weren't going away, the tension started to set in, and you could see
Mm.
it out there. You know what I mean?
Mm. Mm.
Um, the Ronaldo sort of frustration, which in teams where he's one of many stars, like at Real Madrid, you had the Bale Benzema dynamic. Um, when he's at a team where he's the out and out best player and leader, I think, especially with the players around him being so young, I think it makes them cower. I think it makes them like drop form.
Mm.
That's just how it looks, because it doesn't seem like they see his frustration and go, "Yeah, I should be better." They just kind of see it and be like, and they just see it and they go, "Oh yeah, I do suck." And it's just kind
I
of like,
can't eat pudding in front of this guy. How am I gonna live up to his standards? You won't even
so
let me eat dessert.
man. But yeah, so that's the FA Cup. They're out
Mm.
of the FA Cup. Goodbye. Which I think, obviously, it's a loss to Middlesbrough, and that looks bad. But I think more than anything, with the possibility of an EPL title completely gone practically, and the UEFA Champions League looking, super
Tough
slim
tie.
pickings for them.
Tough tie.
Exactly. You would have thought that they would have, and that's why they put a full strength squad out there. The FA
Mm,
Cup was probably what they saw as like, this is our only route now for a title
mm,
in the first Ronaldo season, which is what they really want. They want some sort of silverware to show for it. So I think it's a bigger deal than just losing to a small team. I think
mm.
it's them sort of failing on their last sort of avenue for success this year on the first hurdle, which is
Mm-hmm.
just mental. Essentially, the first hurdle, right? I don't think this just started, right? FA Cup.
I think they've probably been
Like,
2 rounds in, maybe two,
yeah, but
two.
do all the teams participate? I thought that only a certain select teams
Prem
participate
teams
early
jump
on.
in from the fifth round.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay, fair.
all teams across the English pyramid will participate,
Yep.
and then Prem teams come in on the fifth round. So I believe they're probably around around 6 or 7 point now. So, but yeah, look, it was just a poor performance. Just kind of like you said, after the 40th minute, they kind of again they're coward. They really didn't show any effort to win, even though it's a full strength side. I mean, what more can you say? I feel it's Groundhog Day every day at Man United. Is Groundhog Day. Every game
Yep.
plays out the same. Ronaldo's frustrated, or he doesn't play, or he's coming off the bench. I mean, in the latest game against Burnley, he was benched because Ralph knew he doesn't provide the same running as Cavani does up
Mm-hmm.
top. So you know,
Said it
subject.
too,
Yeah, he
which I
said
thought
it.
was a bit surprising. I know that that's the reason, but
Mm.
like, I didn't think he would out and out say it, because
Mm.
you're saying that a bloke that's in the same age bracket as you can run significantly more than you, and hasn't been known as the same sort of athlete that you have been. So you
Mm.
know what I mean? I was surprised that he didn't try to save Ronaldo some face and be like, look,
Mm.
he just got back from international break. He just played a long period of time against Middlesbrough. Tough game. I'm just doing some rotation. I'm surprised he
Well,
didn't save him any face on it.
but I think maybe Ronaldo just doesn't like being or doesn't like I guess having his face saved in the media.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe he just turns around. Either way, whichever way you spin it, if Ronaldo's poisonous at the moment. I don't know. He hasn't looked himself. He hasn't performed up to his early start. He doesn't look joyful about being there at all. Not too many of the other players. Maguire still looks shit. I mean, we all thought, it was Ollie. He didn't know what was going on. In
No, no, come on.
reality, the players don't know what's going on. No one knows what they want, what they're gonna do, what they should do. No one has any
Mm,
passion besides maybe
mm.
Bruno. Um,
We haven't
what
seen
they are
we
like.
haven't seen any of this Ralph ball either. Like, it's not, you don't get
It's
any.
literally
Like,
looks like a
yeah,
part
the
two.
line is, like, the line is slightly higher, I suppose. Yeah, it looks like the attackers are making some sort of effort to press, but like, not in an organized fashion where it feels like, oh
No.
yes, this is being fed down from the top down. That's none
Yeah.
of that. It's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, they're getting a bit of a talking to at halftime, but
Yeah. It's
tactically
just.
speaking, nothing's really shifted at all. And
No.
on top of all that, you have people like you said, like Maguire, who are continuing their bad performance that they were having under Oli. Maguire is probably like the easiest one to select, because I think his errors are so calamitous. Like,
Mm.
he's a comedy act sometimes. Like, the goal against Burnley, the goal they scored, he overcommits so much, and then he has so much time to make it back, and he just can't. Like, he makes the tackle, tries to make the tackle, and he gets himself out of the play, but the play slows down, and he's within running distance to catch back up. He's trying his absolute best, but he just can't move his frame, right? And I
Fucking
think
good thing.
that's sort of that's a massive worry for me, because, like, if you think back at all the relatively decent centre backs that had this sort of issue with a lack of, I suppose, poise or focus, where they overcommit sometimes, they normally had this sort of uncanny physical abilities to cover up or compromise for these things, a compensate, I should say. Whereas Maguire doesn't have any of that. So I don't know. I just feel like he's way worse than he actually is. I know that's not a big take these days. Like everyone's
Mm,
shitting on Maguire, but I feel like the kinds of errors he makes are gonna get worse and worse over time because his small, thin line of athletic ability will go further and further down, right?
mm,
And these mistakes will become more glaringly obvious, right? I haven't seen a good Maguire game in a long time, right?
mhm,
And when we were seeing good Maguire games, they were that of a high risk, high reward centre back. You know, he's tough tackling, right? He's good in the air, and he can drive the ball forward, right? If the guy that's high risk, high reward turns into high risk, low reward, like that goes from a player that you're willing to take a gamble on to a player that's not even worth having on the bench. Like I feel like where he is at the moment to where he can fall, like his floor price, so to speak,
mhm.
is way lower than I think anyone's thinking. I think we're mostly in agreement that this is as bad as he's going to get. I think he's going to get much worse.
Well, he could. He definitely could. I mean,
I think he can go. He can turn out to be like a Phil Jones type character. You know what I mean?
well, depends on how his body holds up. Because Phil Jones's body broke down on him, and then he completely, capitulated from the inside with his ligaments and ankle and stuff like that. And then obviously the memes and stuff like that. The performance is there too. So it's hard to say how it will go down. But I just think that the bigger issue with Maguire, he's the captain. If that's how your captain's playing, right? How are you going to expect the rest of the team to rally or to be able to do anything in terms of getting a result or making something happen? Like it's just the guy is more expensive than Virgil van Dijk, and granted they were bought a couple of years apart. You can maybe say inflation or whatever, but there was no way since day dot, since he was at United, that he was going to ever live up to that
Mm.
price tag, unless he turned into the next Maldini or something like that. But the thing that the crux of the matter is, it seems to me like he just doesn't have it in him to dig himself out of this hole at the moment. I think the
Yeah, I
way he's
agree.
playing will continue to be the way he'll go till the end of the season, and then he might take some time off and reflect and see what happens. Or, he'll go to the World Cup and have a decent tournament like he did at the Euros, and we'll kind of forget, and then he rolls around to United at the start of the season, and then the cycle begins again. He's just
I don't think he had like. I think that the reason he had a decent Euros is because the way England plays is much more conducive to how he is.
yeah,
You know,
of course, yeah, but
that
yeah, but
they sit considerably deeper.
better
Um,
center and actual defensive midfielders in front of him,
yeah,
actual a good
yeah,
partner next to him. Like it's the best case scenario for him. But you know,
yeah.
you play a tournament every 4 years at this stage. I mean, you play a couple of internationals here and there, so it's I guess less
I just
pressure.
think he's
I
not.
don't know.
I don't think he's the kind of centre back that a modern football club has a lot of use for these days. I don't think he's that guy. I think he has this sort of marauder type quality to him where he can drive the ball forward, but he's not particularly good at side to side passing. His
Mm,
positioning is awful. He's anything that you need in a centre back in order for you to capably play a high line, he can't really provide. He
yeah,
needs that sort of
yeah,
system where he can sit relatively deep so his positioning isn't made, glaringly obvious, and he needs a defensive midfielder in front of him so you can get use of his one useful attacking ability, which is driving the ball forward. He can move
mm,
forward and they'll take his spot behind.
yeah,
If you don't have those sorts of things, like what do you? He's not that kind. He's not your world class captain of Man United centre back,
mm,
where
yeah.
whether it's a three back, a four back, a defensive midfield in front of him, uh, no defensive midfield in front of him. Whatever they're playing, he's going to be capable. He's not that
Mm.
guy at all.
I just don't think he's the guy you build your defense around, which is what they planned around doing. The fact of the matter is he needs bigger pieces around him, so then he can do what he does best, which is not a lot. But granted, he's not on his best day. He's not that bad, really. He's not a liability as he tends to look with United. So I don't know. I hope the bloke doesn't completely fall off, because that'd be just cruel. But you know, at least if if United could figure something out, they tried to bring in Varane and see if that works, but again with injuries and his performance and just the overall team, it's just not a environment conducive to getting results. It's a
I just
sad
think,
sight to see
the
if
thing is, right? He's in a position where, like at centre back, he's in a position where if a team of his stature is underperforming, he's given a lot of opportunity to shine. Like
Yeah.
a good centre back, part of a great team, has much less opportunity to shine than a good centre back at a poor team. It's dealing with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of defensive pressure.
Mm.
That's the worry for me. Is like he's getting the opportunity to make it shown that he is of a certain caliber of player, and he's never really risen to that occasion. Like
Mm.
I'm not going back on a game, 2 games, 3 games. We're talking like a season and a half worth of games
Mm.
where even when he plays really, really well, it just means he didn't make any mistakes. You
Yeah.
know, he still doesn't perform the responsibilities of a captain. He still doesn't perform at a consistent or tight level like you'd expect from a center back in any EPL team, let alone a United team. So it's like, what's his ceiling? I don't think his ceiling is very high. I
Mm.
think we've probably seen as good as he's going to get. Maybe not obviously in the last season and a half,
Mm.
but I think he's shown glimpses of what he's going to do, and that's about as much as we're going to get. I think
Mm.
that the Euro performance of him in England, that might be the be all and end all of what he can
Mm.
do.
As good as it gets.
Right? Yeah, fucking Earth. Yeah, the boys. Asib, nice to see you too, my friend.
Nice to see you back, Cass.
Now, Newcastle. They beat Everton 3-1.
Let's get a
And
round of applause. There you go. Well
yeah,
done,
hey, they're
Newcastle.
out of
Another,
the relegation zone. They're
mate.
out of
All
the
it took was a
relegation zone.
small loan of $250.
Just the nation state to fund us. That's all. That's
Mate,
all
you
we
just
needed.
need a Gulf State to fund you, and Chris Wood and Kieran Trippier.
Legit. How about that Trippier getting himself a debut goal?
Nice free
Very
kick.
nice. Very nice free kick. Very nice free
Not
kick.
looking good for Everton, but inversely.
Not looking good for Everton.
Pat
I'm telling
Frank's
you
in
what,
trouble,
man.
and it's the first game.
It's the first game. What do you reckon though?
Um,
Because let's have a look at the old table. But I'm
yeah.
pretty sure that they are still well within danger of
Oh yeah,
bouncing
100%. If
into
anything, they've
relegation
inched
zone. Yeah,
further.
so
They've inched closer to it.
they're only 3 points out from the relegation fight.
Burnley's got
So,
what 5 games in hand still, right?
oh shit, really?
Yeah,
No,
they have
two,
two.
just two.
Okay, so they've caught up a lot. Okay, so they have 2 games in hand, which is still 6 points potentially up for grabs. You've got Newcastle that's got a bounce to them now. The second win against obviously a Premier League team. Watford with Roy Hodgson, which is I
Yeah,
guess in itself he got him a clean sheet for the first time in God knows how long. First manager this season to do it. So if they can have a few more there, that's a draw here, a win there. Let's extrapolate as far as possible. So then you look at Everton. They've changed manager. They've got an
yep,
unproven manager in this position. They brought on Dele Alli, who didn't look that great this game. Donny van de Beek as well, not looking too flash. Granted, there were players that were sitting on the bench, so maybe they need time. It's Fat Frank's first game. Call it what you want. There's
yep,
a lot of things involved. But currently, it does not look like it's gonna be a fight till the end. I think Everton is gonna have to
yeah,
do some Houdini towards the end of the
yeah,
season, especially during
yeah.
crunch time.
This is my hot take on this one.
Boy,
If
hey.
if Frank is to take a positive from this, I think it'll be because they fall so deep into the relegation fight, and I'm not saying deep
Mm-hmm.
like they end up last or something, but it becomes such a reality that relegation is on the cards, that them staving it off and staying in the Prem will be seen as a victory. And hey, good job, Frank. I think that's how it's gonna go, because I don't think that they're gonna be able to put on a good storm and go right up to the mid-table spots. I feel like there's going to be a teething process. In that teething process, they're going to fall into the relegation fight because that's just going to happen after they accumulate some losses. But I think Frank will steady them, and the other relegation teams will continue being shit, and they'll eventually maybe climb to, I don't know,
Yeah,
16th, 17th,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
That's what I think. What I think is going to happen if it
yeah,
goes well. If it
yeah.
goes poorly, they're just going to get relegated.
Yeah, then if they get relegated, the best part about the job for Frank is the severance package. But the thing here is they still have Watford and Norwich. I think those two teams are still well in the lead in terms of getting relegated.
Yeah,
It's a matter of who finishes third. I think maybe it's too early to say Newcastle is safe because again, it took him 11 games under Eddie to get this type of result where they look positive and a lot of signings, obviously.
Yeah, yeah,
But look, I don't think they'll get relegated. It's just it's looking very dicey at this stage. I'll say it's looking very dicey. But again, new manager. What can Frank do in such a short amount of time? I think you're right in the sense of if he staves off relegation and they can look somewhat cohesive and somewhat willing to play some
yeah. It'll be
nice
like a thumbs
football,
up. Yeah,
it'll be
yeah,
like, look, you did well. Here's another season. Now you have to at least get above 13th place, like as close as you can to that top half or top 10 position there.
Now we also had West Ham play against Watford.
Aha,
Speaking about Roy Hodgson's new team, a lot of controversy around this one because
lots of controversy on and off
uh,
the pitch.
yeah, an alleged I guess he's alleged uh, animal abuser.
Yeah,
Coached
well,
him. I
I
guess it's
mean,
alleged, but there's video evidence. Like it's you. We've
yeah,
seen him abuse an
the
animal. So I guess it's not.
investigation's open, so we'll see what the investigation said. But I think my
But he
favorite thing,
starts today.
huh?
He started today.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing to come out of this game was the crowd when Joshua King made the tackle on Kurt Silva, and everyone unanimously yelling, "That's how your cat feels." I
Yeah.
think that's peak football right there. Peak
Yeah. It
band,
is, man.
as the kids would say.
It is. There's. I don't think there's another sport out there where they're as quick to work in your, you know, scandalous events into a
Yeah,
chant.
your
It's. I don't think other
indiscretions.
sports even do it. To be honest, I think it's
Yeah,
literally just
no,
football.
no.
But God bless. Look, not a bad game from Watford, to be honest with you. They actually played quite well, created a lot of chances, just missed a whole lot of them. And West Ham,
They did
West Ham
fulfill
did
the
West
brief.
Ham things, you know. West Ham just
Mm,
organized outfit, created their own chances, kept their head on straight the whole way through.
mm,
Um, they did get beat up. It could have gone, the other way quite easily and been a Watford win. But I think this is the sort of game that a good team, because I know there are better teams in the league, but a good team wins these sorts of games where they really weren't the better ones on the field, but they still get it done in the end and get the result.
mm,
And
mm.
I think that's sort of been the Moisey experience so far at West
Yeah,
Ham,
it is.
right? Like he's
It
just
is.
just getting the results, maybe not the sort of results that every team would be happy, but definitely the ones that West Ham would be happy.
Yeah.
And man, they're just good, honest footballers. I love it. Like they're not particularly good. You know what they're gonna do before they even go out there, but
Mm.
they do it to 100% and they don't give up. So it's good to have one of these teams in the comp.
Lots of passion. Lots of passion.
Yeah, literally in practically every role, I feel like
Mm.
they've got someone that
Yeah.
spills their guts on the field.
Yeah. No,
And
no
one,
star player. Yeah, exactly. It's
no,
just a lot of hustle and effort.
exactly. All right, we'll quickly recap here on the A League before we close it
Oh
off.
God.
So
Oh
we'll start with Sydney. We'll start with Sydney FC, who's actually turning things around. As
wow.
much as I hate to
Yeah.
say it,
Mm.
but look, they've continued to turn it around with a hard-fought win against Adelaide just the other day. I think it was on Friday, Saturday. In Cooper Stadium, they get a 2-1 win. Like I said, tight game, very hard fought, but also the sort of game that Sydney maybe a month, 2 months ago was losing.
Probably.
They
Yeah.
yeah they weren't able to stick in there against these sorts of sides, but they're actually looking a lot more well oiled than they were before. Yeah, it's just not a whole lot
Mm.
you could
Mm.
say wrong about them in this game.
Mm. Mm.
Now on the opposite side of things, though, the Wanderers. So they eke out a
Oh
1-0 win
Lord. Mhm.
against Perth.
Looked
Ruden's
good.
debut as
Looked
coach
okay. Looked
looked good.
okay. There was some. There
Particularly
was
good
actually
performance from
forward
Jack Rodwell.
passing. There was some
Yeah,
forward passes. The attackers looked like they were part of the game. No passes between Katrumbas and Reese or Katrumbas and Nata or
yeah.
anything like that.
Katrumbas on
We saw
Ziggy, like whoever it is.
we
Yeah,
saw Ziggy Gordon come back from the gallows
yeah,
to join in, but
yeah.
short-lived. Short-lived.
Yeah, very short lived. So we eke out a 1-0 win against Perth. You know, it's a good start for Rudin in the sense of the
Rodwell's
results
nice
good,
looking goal too. Nice
nice
build up.
looking goal.
Rodwell kind of
Yep,
fumbles it, but still gets it, and
yep,
Rodwell gets on the score sheet, which is good.
yeah, yeah. And it was an early goal, and they held on, or we
Mm.
held on, I should say. And it was,
Mm.
it was all looking nice and tidy, which is
Peachy.
kind of, yeah, it's what you asked for.
Mm.
And then then we played against Western United, Ruden's ex team, actually.
Mm. And a good
Looking for
team.
a good team, first in the league, but also looking for their first back-to-back win of the season, which is not what you want to be hearing. A third of the way through,
Yeah.
but still a loss, a 1-0 loss, and to be honest, it looked about as the same as they did under Robbo. Like it looked
Ah,
like that, lots of passing between the centre backs, lots of negative football. And you know what got me was that it was like that in the first and the second half, which it kind of makes me go to think like, what did they talk about at halftime? Did they just sit in silence? I don't know. Felt like it.
Robert. Rudan is a angry fellow. Yeah, voices his opinion. So I doubt he sat there in complete silence. But
Yeah, true.
you, if you come out the second half looking the same as you did in the first, what are we doing here? Like, come on, like this. I don't get it. But look, we'll march on and watch this circus rolling through all the cities across Australia except for Perth, obviously. But we'll see how long this lasts. I'm very after the Carl era.
Yeah,
My hopes are very very low at the moment, and then the appointment of Ruden
same.
really doesn't inspire me much. Doesn't really bring it up. It was a false little blip after the win against Perth, but then again, Perth have barely had a season put
Yeah,
together. They're probably out of shape as it is and match fitness. They were missing Fornaroli and Sturridge for what that's worth. And they really didn't present much of a threat moving forward, which was easier for Sydney to deal with Wanderers to deal with. But look, we'll see how Game 3 goes.
yep.
I'll judge it based on its merits, and I believe it's the actual derby
I
against
think so. I
Sydney.
think you're right. I think you're correct.
So big game. I hate the fact that Sydney have somehow managed to scramble 3 games on in a row, and then happen to come up against Wanderers as they've changed their coach, mind you,
Yep.
and playing away. So it just seems like when you look
Actually,
at all the
we've actually got Melbourne next,
Melbourne, and then
and actually we don't have the derby for a while. It seems
okay, I saw promo for it, so
fake news. Unlucky.
I'd assumed that the derby was around the corner when I saw them advertising so much. But that just might be the AIs getting me wrong.
Yeah, the
Um,
algorithm.
the algorithms got me good, but look, we'll just see what happens. Really, just game
Yeah,
by
yeah,
game at this stage. I can scream and shout at my TV and hear, but it doesn't really change much on the pitch. So you just got to take it for it is what it is.
yeah. Uh, was very inspired after the first game, mostly because all of the real big flaws, the things that really were irking me about how we were playing, were all seemingly dealt with. Not dealt with in the
Mm.
sense that they're gone, they never
At
come back,
least
but they were
address.
addressed. Yeah, addressed
Mm.
exactly. And the fact that like almost all of them returned in the very next game, a little bit worrying, I will admit. But at the same time, he has made some changes that are just objectively better.
Mm.
Dragging Ziggy into the team, albeit through necessity because Reese is injured, but
Mhm.
reintroducing him into the team. Um, the more freedom he's allowing for Rodwell and giving him the captain's armband as well, which is
Mm.
also an interesting choice because there's other players that he could have given it to. But still, he's a guy that's wearing his heart on his sleeve, so hopefully
Mm.
that's infectious to the rest of the team. But
Mm.
look, I'm sort of in the same boat as you, man. I don't want to try my best not to look too far into the future because I'm not exactly sure what's in there. So,
Nope. Mm.
and just to wrap up, Western United sitting pretty at the top of the table. You got Melbourne City in there at second, same amount of games played, 3 points behind. And then you got Melbourne City, who's actually playing right now. But even with that said, they still will have a game in hand. And then you got Sydney in there as well, with actually more games played than anyone else in the top four. But still, all very close, all within 3-4 points of each other.
Tight. Very tight.
Tight, very tight. And you know who's not anywhere near there is the Western Sydney Wanderers, way down
Well, look,
at
when you don't
ninth.
have any hope, it's fine. Everything is okay. You have no hope,
Well,
no expectations. Nothing can hurt you.
exactly. Well, no one else actually has their points total match their games played except for us.
There you go.
So there's that. And our position at the table, it's all nine.
There you
How about
go.
that?
Nines across the board.
How
Get
about
that
that?
up
Nine
there.
9 points from 9 games. That's good. That's good.
That's less than what if you average that out, it's probably like less than 3 points a game. What is it?
Yeah, it's 1 point a game. But
Oh yeah.
bless. Central Coast same points as us, 2 games in hand. Um, also another interesting one to point out is MacArthur. We're top of the table just 2 weeks ago. Now
Before the
sitting
big COVID outbreak again.
before the big COVID outbreak. Now sitting in mid-table, however, 2 to 3 games in hand, depending who it's compared to. So I feel like the top four has a lot of shaking out to do, but I don't think it's going to involve the Wanderers anytime soon.
Oh no, no, no,
So
no.
thank you for
Get off.
watching.
Stay away from the bottom. That's the game.
Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. Catch the replay on Spotify, on YouTube. All glory be to Bozza. Follow us on the socials at Last Go Wins Pod _ on Instagram, at Last Go Wins Podcast on Facebook, at Last Go Wins Pod on Twitter. All glory be to Boz.